Hello everyone, welcome to Analog IAS Current Affair Analysis for 6th August 2020, and these are the articles we will be dealing today. The first article for the day is taken from the Hindu and it is titled Academic Research is Necessary but Not Sufficient. So we are talking about this in the context of the latest STI policy that is going to come up. Now what is this STI policy? Science, Technology and Innovation Policy. Now if we take a look at this in the larger picture and larger context of education as such, so we have the national education policy that came out after 34 years. So as a part of this policy, it recognized that there is a need for overhaul of the higher education system, especially with respect to research and development. Now you can take this article in that larger context. The fundamental question that this article is trying to address is what should be the quality of projects that are being funded by the government of India. So basically funding in R&D activities can go in two areas. The first one is which can be used commercially in the short term. The other kind of funding is related to something that is not yet seen as commercially viable, say for example experiments like LEGO. So what should be our funding priority? In order to solve this conundrum, NASA came up with a framework called technology readiness level. There are various levels in this. For example, if you are talking about TRL 1, it indicates that the research is just about observation of the basic principles involved in the experiments. Its result is publications, that is scientific journals. So when we are talking about TRL 2, technology readiness level 2, we are looking at the formulation of technology at the level of concepts. After this, it is seen that whether we can be replicating these models in laboratory conditions, and therefore after that it will be followed by prototype demonstration and actual deployment. So this TRL framework is very much useful, especially when we are talking about certain sectors like aerospace applications, etc. But taking this idea forward on a grander level, can we come up with an alternative term depending on the field? So this technology readiness level is good enough for aeronautics, but can we come up with such framework for biotechnology? Can we come up with such framework for nanotechnology, quantum computing and all these fields? If we have such a framework, if all the scientists come together and create such framework, we can create an alternative mode of development of these commercially non-viable technologies, and that is possible through the use of terminology called post-academic research, or simply called PAR. So one can easily establish correspondence with the TRL framework. So the AR corresponding to the TRL 1. Now AR is academic research. When you correspond it to the TRL 1, as we have seen in this case, it talks about the basic observation of principles and establishment of journals. When we are talking about post-academic research, we are talking about advanced levels of TRL, wherein large laboratories are conducting experiments to see how they demonstrate the prototypes for commercial deployment. So this is the focus that we should be giving to our research. In many developed countries, the private sector plays a significant role in absorbing the talent from educational sector. So a lot of R&D projects are actually funded by the private sector, and the results that this research yields are commercially deployed because of the investment they made in this R&D sector. So it is the duty of the government to bring the private sector on board, but there is a caveat here. Our industry has not yet reached a stage where it can absorb the research that is being done in our educational sector, in our higher institutions. So this observation reveals that research that is being pursued is either not addressing the national needs, or it is simply at AR or academic research level, where we are just talking about journals which are most of the times just namesake without any further development. So the author believes that the focus should be on post-academic research. That is, we have to commercially develop certain prototypes for private sector to invest in R&D sector. So today a lot of PhD awards are given based on academic research, that is publication of journals. Now this culture should change. So whenever we are talking about the idea of Atmanirbhar Bharat, so this concept should be applied especially in the context of post academic research, where we are actually generating certain prototypes that can be deployed by the industry, and we become self reliant when we talk about technology as such. So the new science and technology as well as innovation policy should emphasize the post academic research to ensure that investment in R&D yields better economic growth. That should be the actual focus of our country. R&D in science and technology that will result in economic growth. This should be the agenda of Atmanirbhar Bharat as far as science, technology and innovation is considered. For this to happen, ultimately this science, technology and innovation policy should have certain links with our national education policy as well. So we have to see both our education at primary level and secondary level, and after that the research or higher education levels in continuum. So unless and until we nurture kids and create an environment where post academic research is glorified in our society, we cannot actually envision a country that is self reliant without depending upon external technologies. That is the gist of this article. This article is taken from the Hindu, and it is about priority sector lending and the definition of a startup. So we know that RBI has two kinds of tools in its fiscal policy. One is the quantitative tools, which aims at ensuring the growth of economy as a whole. The other one is qualitative tools, where we will be talking about the allocation of funds for priority segments to ensure development of those sections of the society. So the idea behind this is, in GS3 we have inclusive growth, and therefore the kind of development that we want is inclusive development. So the quality aspect of RBI's fiscal policy focuses on this. Now priority sector lending is one such norm which induces this inclusive development. Now what is this priority sector lending? Our economy has different sectors. For example, agriculture, or there is also household requirement for education loans. When we are talking about the dream of housing for all, it is the dream of a common man to have a house. So housing is one such sector. We also have the MSME sector, which is always in need of liquid cash for carrying out certain business activities. Also, at times small traders find themselves in fix because they are not able to find export credit. So there are various sectors like this. Now you can go to the RBI's website and have a look at the various other sectors apart from the ones that I just mentioned, to have a comprehensive look at the list of sectors where priority sector lending norms are applicable. So the point being, these sectors have a severe difficulty in getting loans. Therefore RBI has ensured through its qualitative fiscal policy tools to ensure that banks give certain amount of money as priority sector lending to these sections of the economy. Now within the scope of these sections, RBI has introduced startups. Now when we say startups, is it applicable to all the startups? What is a startup actually? Now let us have a look at the definition of a startup as per the government records. If you want to know the definition of a startup, you have to go to the Ministry of Commerce website and look at the policy document given out by the Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade. So in its notification dated 19th February 2019, the department has notified what is the definition of a startup. So as per this notification, any entity shall be considered as a startup up to a period of 10 years from the date of incorporation. Previously, it was only 7 years. After the latest notification, it was extended to 10 years. Now, this firm should be either registered under the Companies Act or under the Partnership Act or Limited Liability Partnership. So, what are these type of companies is beyond the scope of this particular news item. We'll discuss it sometime later. But you have to understand that as per the notification, startup is 10 years from the time of commencement, provided it also fulfills two other criteria. What are those criteria? The first one is about turnover. If the turnover is not greater than 100 crores since the time of incorporation, only then it is called a startup. The third point is if the particular company has not generated any revenue yet, but it is working on a high innovation model which has a propensity to scale up, in that case also we can call it a startup. Even if it is not making money, you can call it a startup and avail the benefits. So another condition here is that if a company is formed by splitting an existing company, that is not considered a startup. So this is the background for this. Now what is the amount of PSL you have to know? Required to assign at least 40% of the adjusted non-bank credit. Now what do you mean by non-bank credit? So banks have certain norms to be fulfilled like CRR, SLR, and after all this they invest in certain bonds. So whatever is left over in that, 40% of the money should be allocated to this priority sector lending to ensure inclusive development. That is the funda of this article. This article is taken from the Hindu and it is about how the loan to value ratio for jewels is raised to 90% from 75%. Now let us understand the basics of this article and the significance of this article. We all know that RBI is the body that decides the fiscal policy of this country on behalf of the government of India. So the broad measures taken in fiscal policy can be classified as quantitative measures and qualitative measures. Quantitative measures are those which can directly impact the flow of money in our economy. For example, we have the cash reserve ratio, SLR, statutory liquidity ratio, and the repo rate that the bank changes from time to time to deal with the inflation and also to ensure that loans are available at a cheaper rate in the present times, and whenever there is high inflation there is tight money policy to reduce the flow of money in the economy. So basically these quantitative tools decide the total volume of loans or the amount of cash that is available to the economy as a whole. For example, if the entire country needs 100 crore rupees for carrying out its economic activity, these quantitative tools will be adjusted in such a way that this 100 crores are available to the economy, and therefore upon the business activity this will multiply. So this is taking into account the money multiplier effect. So quantitative tools are directly related to this multiplier effect, but when we are talking about the quality aspect, you have to look at it as a differentiation between economic growth, and when we are talking about the qualitative aspect, we are talking about economic development. Now in order to ensure that the 100 crores that the government is releasing through banks or the RBI is ensuring that this much amount is available to the public, it also has to ensure that a significant amount of this is not taken away by a multinational company. Say for example, we have a company X. If out of 100 crores, 90 crores is taken away by a single company, the rest of the economy cannot grow with the underfunded 10 crore amount. So this qualitative aspect is equally important. And in order to ensure that everyone gets a representation in this 100 crores, this qualitative aspect is used by RBI to ensure the economic development of the country. Now let us have a look at the qualitative aspect and qualitative tools of RBI and how it is related to the present news. So, one such qualitative measure is this loan to value ratio. Now, what is this loan to value ratio? Let us understand. So, because of the pandemic, a lot of small companies and small time traders are suffering because of lack of liquidity. That is, they don't have cash in their hands. So, they are taking out their old jewelry and they are pledging it as a collateral for taking loans. Now, previously, according to the loan to value ratio norms laid down by the Reserve Bank of India, it was only 75% of the value. Now, what does it mean? Say, for example, if a particular gold coin values 100 rupees, and if the customer takes this gold coin and goes to the bank and asks for a loan, the bank would be giving only 75 rupees as a loan, even though it costs 100 rupees. What is the rationale behind this? Now, let us have a present look at the rates of gold in the market. In February, it was somewhere around 30 to 40,000. After the pandemic, because there are no other alternative investments, high net worth individuals started diverting their funds into gold. Gold has always been the traditional avenue for investment whenever there is fall in the interest rates. So this resulted in the rise of gold price till 55 to, it is almost touching 60,000 right now. It has not yet touched 60,000 as of present date, but it would soon touch 60,000. Now imagine a person who bought gold at 30,000 rupees and is requesting a loan amount in the present day. So when we talk about the value of gold, we would be talking about today's rate, that is 60,000, say for example. So a person who bought at 30,000 is taking a loan at 60,000. So this means even if he is not paying his loan back, he is actually getting it as a free loan because of the increase in value of gold. We all know that this is an artificial increase and there would be a market correction after a few days. But this person is getting that additional benefit and there would be no incentive for him to pay back. In order to avoid this, there was a ratio that was fixed by RBI. Previously that was 75%. So if the present value is 60,000, he would be getting only 75% of that 60,000 in normal times. Now RBI understood that there is severe demand crunch. In order to ensure that more and more amount of money is placed in the hands of public, it raised this value from 75% to 90%. So previously only 75% of this 60,000 was given as a loan to the customer. Now that value has been increased to 90%. That is the gist of the news.